Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a great week so far and you're ready to dig into more of this incredible book called Ecclesiastes. Just as a reminder, maybe, since it's been a few weeks since we talked about the first chapter, Ecclesiastes really comes from a Greek word that means teacher. Teacher is one of the first words in the book of Ecclesiastes, and so that's why it's called what it's called. It means the teacher, and he's teaching us things about the meaning of life. Chapter 8 is entitled Out of Control. A lot of us like to be in control. Solomon is going to tell us something a little bit different. The main point in chapter 8 of the book of Ecclesiastes, all of us like to be in control of our lives in some way. Some of us more than others. Some of us want to control everything. Others of us kind of want to influence a few things in our lives. Either way, we all want some sort of control. Solomon says, though, in chapter 8, this is an impossibility. And because it's an impossibility, it's really pointless to pursue. The key verse that points that out is verse 7. No one knows what will be. Indeed, who can tell him what will happen? We can't predict the future. We can't tell what is to come. We cannot guarantee that this will happen at this time in this way. And because we can't do anything about the future, we really cannot control anything in our lives. Things happen to us outside of our control all of the time. So as you read through chapter 8 of the book of Ecclesiastes, here are some things that you need to know. This first section of the book gives some advice on dealing with kings. Solomon would definitely know a thing or two about how to handle those people in authority. He himself was in authority. He was a king for 40 years, and so he had a lot of people coming to him. He's giving you some advice on how to deal with those who are in authority over you. He also wants you to know that life isn't fair. You might want it to be. You might try to make it to be, but that's not always going to be the case. Life isn't always fair because we live in a sinfully corrupted world. What do you expect? Life won't be fair no matter how bad you want it. We come back to one of those underlying themes in the book of Ecclesiastes as well in verse 15. I'm not going to tell you about it. Hopefully you remember it from previous chapters, but when you get there in your own Bibles in verse 15, highlight it. Underline it. Put a star next to it in the margins, something to remind you, oh yeah, here it is again. Here's that undercurrent that keeps coming back that Solomon reminds us about again and again. In the end, you just cannot control everything in your life. Solomon tried himself. Solomon was in control of a lot of things himself. Wasn't going to work. Here's the meaning of life according to Ecclesiastes chapter 8. It's not controlling your life as much as you can. Don't even bother. Solomon tried, and he wants you to learn from his mistakes. Time to read Ecclesiastes chapter 8. And when you read it, remember that no matter how powerful Solomon was, no matter how many cookie jars he had his hands in throughout his empire for 40 years, he found out that he really had no control at all. Things still happened to him outside of his control. And he wants to make sure that as you go through your life, you have a little bit different perspective. That positive perspective is going to come later. For now, understand that controlling everything that happens in your life is not the point. Have a good time reading Ecclesiastes chapter 8. Come back next week for a little bit of a look at the next chapter that follows the same kind of thing.